Alright, logic fans, welcome to our third video on the mechanics of the Universal Quantifier on section 4.3, so this is video 4.3c, and we're just continuing to unpack all this jargon, and I hope you're getting a feel for, okay, look, it's actually not as bad as it sounds, it just takes a lot to specify it all out, but we're going to keep looking at examples so that you can really dial this in, and there's plenty of practice problems for you in the text to help you along with solutions. So, here's a sentence, and once again, you may find yourself thinking, what on earth does that mean? And right now, you have no idea. And I have no idea, let's say, okay? The question before us is not what this means, but how can I build this from the ground up and prove that this whole expression here, this whole sequence of symbols, is in fact a quantificational sentence? So, that's what we're going to do right now. I want you to go ahead and pause and give this a try. Hopefully you can do it. If you can't, no big deal. But get a feel for the problem first, and then we'll come back and do it together. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to pause. I'm going to show you how I might approach this and show you some potential pitfalls with this particular problem. So first thing I notice is I've got two property constants. So one's in terms of x, I'm going to use a for that. One's in terms of y, I'm going to use b for that, just to help myself out here. So this is quantificational rule 7, or excuse me, 1. And then I'm going to get GB online, and that's quantificational sentence 1 as well. Now, it's tempting, perhaps, to go ahead and build this construction here, okay? And in terms of your rule, quantificational sentence rule 5 on lines 1 and 2, this is a legitimate application of quantificational sentence 5. Like, there's nothing wrong with using quantificational sentence rule 5 here in this way. The problem is it doesn't allow you to get this result, right? Because if we were to now apply quantificational rule 7, we have to prefix the entire foregoing unit with a universal quantifier, right? So we would take this entire unit, surround the whole thing in parentheses, like this, and then we would have to attach, let's say, for example, you wanted to attach the y, you could use y, and then you want to attach the y here, and that's totally legit, and you would say QS7 on line 3. Now, I want to be very clear here. This is a legitimate application of QS7 to line 3. That's not the problem. The problem is that this construction is not this, right? Notice the y is in here. It's in here, okay? So we want to be a little bit more careful how we do this, and the problem came in building this thing first, all right? So what we want to do is try something else. What we're going to do instead is we're going to take this whole sentence here, we're going to append that sucker in parentheses, right? And we're going to attach a universal quantifier, prefix it there, replace it here, and now I've got this construction, and that is QS7 applied to line 2, and that's a perfectly legitimate application of QS7, and it is going to allow us to build this thing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my conditional, which is going to look like this, right? And look at that. Now I've got my QS5 applied, and it's yielded the thing that I want, which, is basically this construction right here, okay? So this is the proper way to get this in, following all the rules without violation, okay? And there it is, you've got it. And now what I can do is I can apply QS7 again to this whole thing. So I'm going to take this whole thing here, I'm going to append the whole thing in parentheses like so, pardon me, like that, and I'm going to put a universal quantifier, I'm going to prefix a universal quantifier in terms of x, which does not already occur here. I could not do y again because y does occur here, but x is totally fine. And I got to replace at least one token of the individual constant occurring in this sentence with an individual variable of the kind that I introduced. So I'm going to do that there, and I'm not going to make any other changes to anything. And so that's QS7 on line 4, and that is QED. And that proves that this is, in fact, a quantificational sentence, whatever it means. We don't know that yet. That's 4.4, one thing at a time, okay? We're just learning how the universal quantifier, whatever it is, works with all the other mechanics of the sentences that we've been developing, okay? So that's our exclusive focus for today. That's the only thing I want you thinking about. All right, no rest for the wicked. Let's try another one. Show that this thing here, which I'll have something to say about in a little bit, but show that this expression here is in fact a quantificational sentence. Okay, pause now and give this one a try. All right, we're going to go ahead and do this together. So hopefully you've had a chance to pause it, but I'm going to do QS1 right here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just go ahead and build this thing right away. Okay, so I'm going to build for all x, fx, right? And that's just QS7 following all of the provisos there. That's QS7 on line 1. All right, and then of course I can build this whole thing pretty simply, right, by application of QS2, which is our negation rule, which does this. So that's QS2 on line 2, right? And then, of course, I can build this whole thing simply by introducing our wedge rule, which, if you'll recall, is QS4 on lines 2 and 3, okay? So we don't need line 5. Done. All right, QED. So this shows this tree here shows, I call them trees, this tree here shows that this sentence or this expression is in fact a sentence. Okay, this sequence of symbols is a quantificational sentence for us. Now I want to notice, I was able to get the X on board in 2 places, but notice I never violated this rule that says the variable cannot occur in the previous line, right? I never applied QS7 where I implemented an X and the X occurred in another line, right? So this type of construction is absolutely permissible, okay? You can absolutely build this kind of thing. Now, what it means, we'll talk about that later, but I just want to say this is a buildable expression, and this is how you would build it, and we have not violated the idea of using QS7 to tack on an additional X where it already occurred in a previous line. We never did that, right? We only applied QS7 here in line 2, and we applied it to this, and no X occurs there. Okay, so in no way did we violate QS7 here, and I wanted to make that really explicit and transparent for you so that you could see that. All right, pop quiz, permissible or impermissible? Let's make sure that you're really getting all of this down, okay, so that you feel confident about it. Now, in each of these cases, I've applied QS7, and I want to know whether the application of QS7 given was permissible or impermissible. Pause now and give this one a shot. If it's impermissible, tell me why. Okay, this is forbidden. Do not do it. This is criminal. All right? Go to jail. This is not okay. This QS7 does not apply this. QS7 must apply to a quantificational sentence. This is not a quantificational sentence, and in fact, that should say QF1. All right, so that was a mistake also. But even if that wasn't a mistake, QS7, this would be incorrect because it has to be applied to a sentence. Okay? So make sure you're catching that type of thing. So it's impermissible for that reason. Now, if it was like this, is that permissible or is it impermissible? This is permissible. This is A-OK. Go ahead and do it. What about this particular case? Is this permissible or is this an impermissible use of QS7? All right, this is impermissible, forbidden. Do not do it. Criminal. All right, absolutely not allowed. And our big question is why? It violates this proviso, proviso 3. You have to replace at least one token of the individual constant type, okay, with the individual variable that you introduce, in this case y, all right, and that doesn't happen here, so this is impermissible. Now, if I had done this, Would that be permissible or impermissible? That's permissible. This is okay. Go ahead and do it to your heart's content. What about something like this? What if I did, this guy here? Is that permissible or is that an impermissible use of QS7? Okay, that is impermissible, forbidden. Don't do it. You have to have the for all Z here because without it, you are violating Proviso 2. So like this is a Proviso 2 violation. Okay, you have to have the Universal Quantifier tacked on there. Let's keep going. Let's try a case like, I don't know. Let's do, let's try that. Is that permissible or impermissible? All right, that is impermissible, forbidden, don't do it. That is a makes other changes. That is a Proviso 4 violation. Do not do that. You're not allowed to make any other changes, right? You have to take this thing as a unit, surround it in parentheses, put the quantifier on the outside. All right, it's very strict in that type of application. Now, if instead I had done something like this, if instead I had done this, let's just say it looked like, this would be QS1, this would be, what is that, QS4, is that right? Yeah, QS4 on lines 1 and 2, and this of course is line 3. And then if I had hauled off, and let's just say I had done for all y, fy or gy, and that was QS7 applied to line 3. Is that permissible or is that impermissible? Is that permissible or forbidden? Permissible or impermissible? Okay, this is a permissible use of it. Okay, this is absolutely permissible. Now, let me shift it up a little bit on you. Suppose I'd done this. Is that permissible or impermissible? All right, that is impermissible. You cannot do that, right? You have to stick to replacing at least one token of a fixed individual constant type. Here you're doing it to A and B. If they're both A, that's fine. If one's A and one's a different individual constant type, you cannot do it. Okay, so this is impermissible, forbidden, criminal, don't do it. What about this case here? Is this permissible or impermissible? And you've got two steps to think about. First, is this step permissible or impermissible? Secondly, is this step permissible or impermissible? Pause now. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this together. So this is absolutely permissible. You can do this, no problem. Problem comes in here, right? The x occurs on a previous line for one, so you can't introduce the x again. Also, you didn't, replace any token instance of an individual constant with an individual variable. So there's two problems there. All right, so this one is impermissible, forbidden. Don't do it. Let's change it up a little bit. Suppose it were like this, and I don't know, like this. Would that be permissible or impermissible in each of these cases? Pause now. All right, hopefully you've had a chance, but this is permissible. This is okay. This one is impermissible, and it doesn't replace at least one token of an individual constant with an individual variable. The fact that you introduce y is okay. Y does not occur in the previous line. All right, what about this case? There's two instances of QS7 to entertain both of them, and be very careful on this one. Pause now. All right, hopefully you've had a chance to pause and think on this, but this application is absolutely fine. You take this whole unit, you append it in parentheses, you attach a variable that doesn't occur, right, and you replace at least one instance, so you don't make any other changes. However, in this line, this is impermissible. Notice you would have to fix this entire unit, which means the x would be over here, right? So you really want to do it this way would be the proper way to do it, okay? And I just want to make that point. No sneaking things inside. You have to fix the entire unit and attach the universal quantifier that does not occur, so y in this case does not occur here, to the outside, okay? And that's proper use of the rule. All right, Couple more points to be made on video 4.3D. See you there.